Welcome back to my channel, guys. Tonight, since it is Monday and supposedly that new Mythic Infinite Dungeon is supposed to come out in a couple of hours officially, whereas the video that y'all seen on my channel of it was an accidental release. I want to go over something that I think has changed my opinion wise on a monster. Just recently, I talked about Mooch in a video. I said he was pretty much garbage and of no use because he didn't solve any problems in PvP or create any problems in PvP, and that's what I usually judge a new monster by to tell if they're good. Well, anyway, this new dungeon has me not just focused on PvP anymore, but it has me wanting to focus on PvM too. So I feel like what I said is not exactly true because I think that this monster is very relevant in the PvM dungeon that's coming. I want to go over him again now that I actually have the monster and it's just not some scrunched up Discord monster sheet. I fed him all the way up. I got lucky to get 3 open sockets. I got lucky to get 3 open sockets on my Piercer as well. And I got 3 open sockets on my last maze monster, the revive guy, Londra, or whatever his name is. So anyway, I want to go ahead and start talking about him. His traits are fine. Those are all good traits. The reason why I thought he wasn't any good was because of his skills. None of his skills did anything in PvP that was really relevant. But in this dungeon, I feel like self-sustaining is the most important thing to be looking towards when making a team. You want your team to be self-sustaining since there's a ton of nodes and it's a survival dungeon basically. So one thing I thought that was an extreme lookover is that you can actually put 3 life-stealing moves on him. That's 3 moves that heal him back exactly the same amount of damage that he does. So I think that he's going to be very effective in that dungeon at killing monsters and moving to the next node with full HP or close to it. So I think right away those are 3 skills that he must always wear because that's what's unique about this monster. That's what makes him special. That's what answers the question that what I've asked somebody before that tried to tell me Mooch was good. I said, what does he do that another monster doesn't already do? Well, what he does that other mythics don't do is heals himself back for as much damage as done. That's not something that mythics are doing. So one thing to note, which is a huge tip that's going to go, if you're listening, it's going to go across, I don't think a lot of people understand it yet. CDA, cooldown activation, is a very relevant mechanic to the game. It is used to lock players out. It is used to lock dungeons out. It's used to do a lot of like game stealing stuff. It interacts with your opponent. It's called disruption to me. Not just deny, it's disruption. Because deny is basically saying, hey, you can't do something. Disrupting is saying, hey, your whole plan just went to crap. So I want to say that when you're looking at a mythic, almost every single mythic, you can pick any. I will just randomly grab a mythic. Let's go over here. I don't even use this mythic. Maybe haven't. I think we set skills already in a previous video on all of our mythics that we own. Look at that. I have a 0 cooldown move. You're not going to find me with a mythic that doesn't have a 0 cooldown move unless I've made some predetermined reason on why they don't have a 0 cooldown move. Like, if I do think that I actually have one that doesn't have a 0 cooldown move. Right there. 0 cooldowns on her. Why? Because I'm trying to go first and cooldown you. If you're faster than me, I need to have a tank or something. I don't need a 0 cooldown move. That's the only monster that I have mythic-wise that doesn't have a 0 cooldown move. Yeah, again, 0 cooldown move. Make sure you consider a 0 cooldown move. Why? Because just earlier I was human battling someone who used to beat me last week, and this week I beat them. But one thing I noticed as I was beating them was CDA. And every one of their monsters was able to run a 0 CDA move, but yet none of them were. And I beat them multiple times. If you're listening, you know who you are. I beat you multiple times, and you didn't change your moves to a 0 CDA move. I've had it happen in like Team Wars where I tell someone, look, I can beat your dungeon. And then they tell me back, like, oh yeah, well, I just 3-starred your dungeon. And then I check their monsters, and I'm like, yeah, that's because you changed a move and put a 0 cooldown move on. But guess what? That lesson they learned in war, they're carrying it with them now when they do regular battles. They now have CDA 0 moves. Why? Because that's what it takes to find out new information. You have to learn. So I want to go ahead and tip you guys that yes, be looking into your 0 cooldown moves. It's going to stop you from getting blown out by cooldown activation. And this guy, his 0 cooldown move is insane. Why? Because it does the same thing his regular moves do, just a little less damage, which means you're going to gain a little less life. But who cares? That's better than passing your turn for a charge. Alright, so moving on to his other moves. He also has a shield remove on top of a lifesteal. And if you're looking at that damage stat, that's a crazy amount of damage. Like, heavy. It's a heavy amount of damage. Also, his skills don't cost, they're not Tanya priced skills for what he's doing here. This one here is the only one I'm running that does not gain him life. And that's not necessarily the best move he could be running, guys. That is where you get to, I think, in my opinion, create your own Moochie, is with his 4th move. I think that there are arguments for any of these moves. Let's go over them. Well, not any, but most. This one deals damage to all enemies, which is going to be huge versus Megaton if you're wearing Strength Runes. And on top of that, applies a physical weakness in case you're running Nora or another physical move on this guy, like, hey, that heal move right there, physical. And if you're not, by whatever means, able to do enough damage to kill the monsters, you're still able to leave them vulnerable to weakness the next turn, meaning they definitely need a nerf, and you're able to poison them, meaning if maybe you were just a hair shy of damage, your relic trigger plus the poison trigger can take them out, and if not, it puts 20% damage reduce on them. So they're basically in a really tough spot for a nerf, because if you get your turn back for this guy, you're going to mess them up. Alright, then there's this move. It doesn't do any damage at all, but if you're running 3 other moves that do damage and gain you life, who cares if you got one move that doesn't do damage? Another thing that makes it relevant is it doubles your life, meaning if you only had 100k life and you can do 200k damage, then some of these skills aren't really being maximized. Whereas if you then double your health to 200k and now you're doing 200k damage, you're now maximizing your skills. So to me, that's definitely something arguable. I just don't know really where. I guess to me, that's something more, I don't know, more situational. That's why I didn't choose it as my move. And the reason why I didn't choose this as my move is, I don't know. I mean, maybe it is better since I'm running all one attack moves. Maybe that technically is better, because double damage is really. I mean, double damage makes them need a purr next turn, whereas this one makes them need a ner. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, they're going to have a ner more likely than they're going to have a purr. Why? Because if you run a tank with this guy to keep you safe, they're going to use their purr on your tank. If they use their purr on your tank, they're going to need another one for your Moochie. Whereas if they use a purr on your tank and then your Moochie hits their tank with something that they can ner away, it's not the same thing, I guess, but again, that's still talking about PvP. In this dungeon, who knows which one's better? We're going to find out tonight if they release that dungeon. This one here was basic, so it's not up for discussion. This one here is arguable. Why? Because it has 0 cooldown, meaning you can still come out the gate and be like, oh, hey, they CDA'd me, so instead of just passing my turn, I'm going to make them weak to physical for 3 turns. And do a little tiny bit of damage to them, which could still be an effective amount if you're hitting a tank and you're using strength runes. I mean, that could add up, but it's not going to be as effective, I think, as the first the first move up there that does the same thing but adds poison. So once again, you're looking at the value of CDA there, and that's situational to me, which is why I avoided both of them and I went with the setup that I have. But the reason that I'm going over this is because I never considered this when going over the monster. And if you think that you have to write everything in stone, meaning if you don't think that you can be wrong and then learn from your being wrong and change your mind, then you won't go very far in adapting. Meaning, I admit I stand corrected that I said this guy was garbage, and I no longer think he's garbage. I think I found a way for him to profit my account. I'm going to rune him up. What runes, what relics do I put on this guy? I'm trying to get him ranked. I am not going to get 100 cells from this maze, I don't believe, and the reason isn't because they weren't possible to get free to play. The reason is because the game is bugged, guys. You're not getting any coins for hatching monsters, and it says right here, hatch, okay? It doesn't say selling, it says hatch. And I promise you, you can go right now and check, hatch all the monsters you want. You won't get any maze coins at all for hatching monsters. Alright? Not even Thunder Eagles. You will only get the coins for selling the egg. It is bugged. It's been bugged for a little while. I don't know how long, but I've been slacking on mazes for a couple of 2 months now. So basically ever since Mythic release, so when I realized that you could just use Amber to make up for going to bed and not setting an alarm clock, and not buying pass to get you some guy who collects the coins for you, a ticket or something like that. So yes, that's a huge thing that the game needs to fix. Once that's fixed, I can easily go back to making my cells for my race and not having to worry about doing what I'm doing, which is leaving one whole breeder open just so that I can hatch commons just to get my 50 cells. And if you want to know what I'm doing over here in breeding, since I mentioned none of this in my marathon prep video on how to prep for marathon, I'm actually just looking into it without googling because I was too lazy. I was going to make the uncommon get me enough cells for the uncommon green black, I don't remember what it's called, let me check. I'm trying to get 100 cells of this guy so that I can just see if he's actually cheaper to hatch than 3.5 hours. Because if he's cheaper to hatch than 3.5 hours, he's cheaper than hatching a pterodactyl for doing the Hatch Dark quest. That's the only thing I'm looking into. If you guys know a cheaper way to hatch Dark Uncommon, let me know. Because Dark Uncommon is a pretty expensive gem request for free to play, I think. But it's definitely not out of the doable works if it's only like 6 gems if you're prepared. That makes it, a Hatch 5 Uncommon, one for all, still only 30 gems. Anyway, moving back to where I was, because if you guys have been watching my channel, you know I'm very good at getting sidetracked, and I don't want to be having to make multiple videos out of this one. Let's get over to his relics. He has the ability to revive relic. That's going to be huge in the Mythic Dungeon, guys. His trap is going to be a Stamina Sucker. I want to try out using that with some levels on it, but other than that, the only thing you can do is use something like that, or something like this on him, really. Those are really the only good traps to me, is something that takes stamina, but this is definitely an automatic revive. Why? Because as soon as he revives, it doesn't matter if he's at half health, it doesn't matter what his health's at, he can just smack something and go back up. Now when it comes to PvP, another thing that I did not mention, which is back in the questions that I bring up, I say, hey guys, what problems does it solve in PvP? That's something you gotta ask. What problems does it create? A problem in PvP for me as a free-to-play, I don't know about you guys, is Brutalizer. Brutalizer, as he gets ranked up, is becoming a huge problem. He demands a purr from me, and demanding a purr means I have to have speed on my purr guy. Why? So that I can purr him away and then also have somebody fast enough to do something with the defense being down. This guy, this monster can straight smack Brutalizer and not even care. So if you're only planning to one-run attacker, and your extra turn guys are biting the dust to Brutalizer, like Nora or Nightingale or that Avera Bird, if they're getting beat up by Brutalizer, this is your dude. This is your guy who could be wearing the same exact runes as that extra attacker and literally punching Brutalizer in the face every chance he gets. So I think that that's worth noting. I think I pretty much covered everything on him, other than I haven't put any runes on mine. How am I going to rune him? I have to look and see what levels I got to work with. It looks like 7 is our man. So I would say 1 speed, 2 strength, like most attackers. That seems like the best thing for the common attacker. Yeah, so that's how I'm gonna leave mine. Check and see if I got enough gold runes. No, I don't, to put him back uh, the way I need him to be for maximized efficiency when not playing with him. Just go ahead and put that there for now. But he's still, yeah, he's not in his right, he's not next to his boost, which I've been slacking on, guys. I'm not even sure if I can fit, yes, I can, or wait, yeah, I can fit one there. So as soon as one of my ones up here are ready, I'm going to move it over there and move him next to his boost anyway. And the reason why I mess with the mythic halves when I still need to be ranking these is because these are so gold dependent, whereas the mythic halves aren't. And if you watched my video where I told you guys that gold runes were on sale, I'm not sure if they still are. No, they're not, but in the time that they were on sale, guys, I started from being broke from the food event to banking 727 of them. Now, how I was able to bank that many wasn't just from my ability to produce gold over those days. It was from having a giant storage of mythic halves. I sold 75, I think 75 mythic halves just to free me up some gold so that I could then move on to not missing out on that huge advantage. What I'm doing with these runes is just trying to get me more 5s to try and turn to gold, that's all. Keeping the rune crafter busy 24/7. Yeah, let me go over here. So I bank them all the time, guys. That's what I do. When I can't afford to rank 4 my halves, I don't want my workers to just sit around like, hey, we don't have 75 million gold. Hey, Lost Jumper, we don't have 90 million gold. We can't do any work. Yeah, you can. You can make these mythic halves and still gain my account experience. And at the same time, you're giving me something in my bank that I can sell later on for gold. Yes, theoretically it's a race or a waste, since inevitably you're going to max your level, and then what are you going, like, your experience from everything you do is going to waste. So the faster you get there is the faster you burn out your potential. So yes, technically making these is a waste, but technically not having your workers do anything is a waste in my opinion. So I do this so that way if any freak of nature thing happens, like I just spent half a billion coins almost on, or half a billion gold almost on food, and then the next day they release gold runes for sale when you've been waiting months for them to go on sale. Yeah, I get to go to my savings account and be like, an emergency came up, a disaster happened, I need to get some money out of my savings account. And now I'm working on putting it back there. And yeah, that's how I look at it, guys. It's like a savings account. Now, I've rambled for 20 minutes, but quite a few people watched the last video where I rambled for 20 minutes. So this is just a 20-minute video of Lost Jumper going over where he's wrong, getting prepared for that dungeon that's supposed to come tonight, and letting you guys know that I really regret ranking my Nora with 2500 Amber. I really wish I would have took this guy to rank 3, and I really wish I would have took Tanya to rank 3. I can't get that Amber back. I just gotta eat that loss. I do have a nice attacker in Nora, but she's not any good when I'm going against human players that all own brutalizers. It's not very much help. There's nothing I can really do in that situation, so it really makes me regret not having a Tanya. Tanya can do a lot versus human players that you need trait disable, you need AoE NER, you need AoE per, you need positive effect removal. Yeah, so I'm still trying to work on getting these guys. I'm figuring I'll be able to get 80 cells out of here, or 70, something like that. Plus the 100 that I Or, well, actually, I think that's all I'll have is the 80 cells or whatever. These Neasel cells would be really nice to get, but instead I get gold. I'm not going to spend a gem. There's definitely things on there worth a gem, like the Neasel cells, but I'm just not going to. It's a rule of thumb that as a free-to-play, I need to be, not on a chase to get things and more on a learning how to use what I got. So anyway, guys, tonight if that video or if that dungeon does go live, expect me to go live. I plan to film it. I plan to show you guys. That's what I've been practicing for, that PVM. In PvP, my defense is doing way better this time around than it is last time around. I've even been getting beat up in PvP and I'm still 750 something. And that's mainly from defense. Let me show you what changes I made to the defense that have surprised me. It comes from when I see an enemy team with Miseris. If you've been watching my channel, you know every time I'm always like, I hope the Miseris doesn't have strength runes on. Because if he has strength runes on, I'm in big trouble, but if he doesn't, we're okay. And then we go in and he's got like 1 strength rune and 2 speeds, and we're like, alright, this is doable. Alright, well, I just decided what makes me cry is what I need to be doing. So I've went all strength in Miseris, and I think so many teams are coming in, and they're not really expecting Miseris to be able to hurt them, meaning like they're basically like, Miseris is just some anticipate that doesn't really do anything when he gets his turn, like his moves are weak, blah 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 blah. Okay, well, if you look on the defenses of the things that I'm actually beating, look at what's coming in. You got a Santa that came in and probably thought my dude was gonna purr away, meaning they're like, oh, Simas is gonna purr away my Santa, and then I'm going to CDA their Simus or I'm going to purr away their Megaton and beat them up with. I don't know what they thought, but they definitely probably didn't even get past Miseris with that team. The ones beating me, okay, that's cool, man. You got a 140 Armel and a Glue and a Rag. You better beat me. I just started playing this game. I'm a noob. You got a 140 Armor Claw? I mean, come on, you better beat me. I'm a noob. This one here, though, what is that? That's a guy who should not be getting beat by me. That's a guy who I promise you was not expecting my Miseris to hit so hard. And they probably, yeah, like, I'll put it at that. I guarantee you they weren't expecting my Miseris to hit that hard. But they also don't look like they had much answer for CDA unless their moves have 0 cooldown moves. Again, Graken has destroyed me for quite some time, pretty much ever since Mythic release, when people all started jumping on the Graken bandwagon. Before then, there was only, a couple of them. But once Mythics came out, basically, I think everyone was like, oh, what do I even use my Elementium cells for? Legends are a waste now. And they're like, oh, not really. There's a couple that are good, like Wormlad and Graken. Everybody already had Wormlad max at that point, so they're like, oh, well, yeah, Graken's going up then. So yeah, guys, like this defense or this team right here with the Kofu Cat and the CDA guy at 130, that normally is just to really mess me up on defense. That cat's been beating me since his release pretty consistently because I don't run Santa on my defense because I use Santa on my attack team. Well, he's been losing some now, and I'm liking it. I'm really loving the all strength on my Miseris. It's definitely something that I appreciate. So anyway, stay tuned later tonight, guys. I don't want to ramble on too much, and we'll find out what goes on with that dungeon, or if anything else pops up that I can talk about. I will talk about it. The feed event, I did get my 20 gems. This event, I plan to breed some green eggs and hams and see if maybe, which is pandas and greenosars for race. I'm going to go ahead and do it on this event, I think. It's only 2 days. See if I can get maybe 10 or 20k of their cells and a top 5k finish for doing so. If so, I will show you guys. I can't leave screenshots or anything like community posts until after 1,000 subs. Which, if that happens, it happens. If not, then maybe I didn't have anything to offer the community anyway, so we just keep on going on about life. Anyway, guys, thank you to everyone who's been watching my channel. I appreciate it. I appreciate the subs. I appreciate the people who showed up to watch my last live. Sorry I didn't actually type comments back, but I did see your comments and I did give you shouts in the live as I was streaming. And I'm extremely sorry about the way the audio works on YouTube Live. I'm going to start looking for Twitch maybe to see if Twitch doesn't do it to my audio. And if that doesn't work, then I don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, guys, feel free to comment what you want to see in more videos. I am going to be working on trying to set up one day a week for when I can battle anyone who wants to add me as a friend and send me a battle while I'm live. I will do that. That's fine. I just got to figure out a day when it's good so that I can make that same day every week. My woman is always off on Tuesdays and I think Thursdays, so I got to really figure out my schedule. I don't want to, be doing it the day after she has off or the day before. It's probably looking like Saturday or Sunday will be my day, and I want to think of a catchy name for it. Maybe like Sunday Fun Day Fights or Saturday Night Fights. I don't know. But anyway, guys, stay tuned for more content. Later.